Hi, do you remember for how long you have been wearing masks due to the pandemic? Do you like wearing masks? With face masks being as important as our clothes under the COVID-19 situation, we are curious about how our impression is affected by face masks. What do you think about these Japanese girls? Do you find them attractive? How about now? Do your thoughts change? We observed that people seem to look more attractive when wearing masks. Is that true? In fact, some research has been conducted to investigate the effects of face masks on people's impressions. Some studies do show that masks increase perceived attractiveness. Although these findings may help people understand how masks affect one's impression, they lack the insights into the effects of masks on overall attractiveness, including both physical appearance and personality. So our group decided to conduct this study to learn more about it. We hypothesized that people tend to rate faces with masks on being more attractive, and in general could give a better impression.
To test this hypothesis, we asked participants to rate 8 photos of people either wearing or not wearing the mask. The photos were taken from 4 male and 4 female university students that we have made sure they do not personally know. We distributed Qualtrics questionnaire by snowball sampling. Our cover story is that we are testing an app that helps students to find friends. Then they were asked a series of questions. Specifically, we were testing on 4 dependent variables: attractiveness, personality, willingness to exchange contact, and the willingness to initiate chat with the other person.
We have a total of 129 participants in this study. The main result is insignificant across all 4 dependent variables. This implies that whether mask on or off will not bring a significant difference in terms of attractiveness, personality, etc. Therefore, we fail to reject the new hypothesis. Interestingly, although there are no significant main results, a significant difference appeared in some specific photos. In terms of attractiveness, M2 is significantly more attractive with a mask. In contrast, M3 scores significantly higher without a mask. In terms of personality, M3 scores significantly higher without a mask. On the other hand, F2 scores significantly higher with a mask.
In addition to the effect of mask on impression, there are some other interesting findings. First, our female photos in general have higher scores than male photos in terms of attractiveness and personality. Moreover, when a face is viewed as attractive, it scores high in other dimensions as well, thus confirming the axiom of what is beautiful is good. In addition, we found that females are more willing to exchange contact and initiate chats with females, but not males.
Let's move on to the discussion part. What is the basic principle of face perception with mask on? According to the law of closure from Gestalt psychology, we tend to perceive incomplete objects as complete rather than focusing on the gaps that object contains. When we are perceiving a face with mask, although we can't see the lower face region, we will form a mental image of a complete face based on the known information. There could be a few explanations for this result of attractiveness ratings in photos. Our results might be explained by the sanitary mask effects. It claims that both the effect of occlusion and unhealthiness priming contribute to the perceived attractiveness of a mask-wearing person. Occlusion reduces informative features. Visual occlusion of unfavorable features could increase the attractiveness rating. By contrast, occlusion of favorable features could reduce the perceived attractiveness. The second factor is unhealthiness priming. Wearing a mask could indicate that you're sick. It invokes the impression that the mask wearer is unhealthy and vulnerable, and hence may reduce the perceived attractiveness. However, since the spread of COVID-19, the purpose of wearing a mask has changed from personal medical conditions to protection against infection, so the effect of unhealthiness priming is eliminated. As a result, under this COVID situation, for faces with high baseline attractiveness, the perceived attractiveness with mask on will decrease. For faces with low baseline attractiveness, the perceived attractiveness with mask on will increase. There will be no change with moderate baseline attractiveness. To apply this theory to our results, let's see what the baseline attractiveness of M2 and M3 are. According to the online face beauty analysis, the Golden Ratio Face app, M2 is not that attractive as he has quite many unfavorable features, while M3 is quite attractive. As a result, the difference in baseline attractiveness without mask might explain why M2 and M3 have opposite significant results. Subjects in other photos might have moderate attractiveness, so that they are rated similarly attractive with and without masks. Another possible reason could be the attractiveness discrepancy between upper and lower face regions. For M2, he has more unfavorable features in the lower region. His upper face region is more attractive than the lower region. For M3, it's a complete opposite. Since only the upper face regions can be seen, we can only rate based on the attractiveness of the upper parts. As a result, M2 and M3 had opposite significant results.
Despite the significant results mentioned above, there are individuals that possess no significant differences with and without masses. Two possible reasons are suggested for the insignificant results. Firstly, facial expression. A recent study suggested that wearing a mask can enhance one's attractiveness only when the person is expressing sadness, anger, and surprise, while the emotion of happiness is perceived as equally attractive with and without a surgical mask. This is because the surgical mask could soften facial features that could be threatening and hence leads to the perception of a greater degree of attractiveness. The subjects of our photos are all smiling and are indirectly expressing happiness. Without any threatening facial features involved, there are no significant differences in attractiveness with and without masses for some individuals. Secondly, the beauty of the subjects. A study in 2010 showed that more beautiful participants were viewed more in line with their unique self-reported personality traits. That is, our impression formed towards a more beautiful individual is usually more accurate than that towards a less beautiful one. This applies to our study. According to the statistics, the mean attractiveness score of our subjects is around 5, indicating that their appearance is about average. This could explain the possible inaccuracy and inconsistency of judgments of their physical attractiveness, leading to the insignificant results for some individuals.
Now, let's see what are some possible explanations that contribute to the overall personality perception.
For M3, the significant result found may due to facial expressions. According to a study, it suggests that mouth region is important in judging friendliness because it can be influenced by smiling or unsmiling faces. As wearing masks cover mouth regions, we cannot see whether participants are smiling or not. The ratings of personality may hence be lowered. However, we found that F2 has an opposite result to M3. Some studies show that when wearing masks, people may be seen as more trustworthy. Besides, a study explains that because of the pandemics, there is an internalized social norm of wearing a mask, which may suppress any automatic mistrust as we can only see half of the face. The ratings of trustworthiness may become higher. Therefore, the overall personality rating is also higher. While for other photos, people with happier faces may have higher ratings in trustworthiness. Wearing a mask does not affect the ratings. Moreover, some studies suggest that whole face contributes to the judgments. Some research also indicates that complex social judgments like trustworthiness mainly rely on the eye regions, so wearing masks may not have effects on personality. For the positive correlations between all dependent variables, it can be explained by halo effect. Halo effect is a rating bias in which a general evaluation of a person or an evaluation of a person on a specific dimension influences judgment of that person on other specific dimension. It might explain why people who are rated as more attractive also have better personality ratings.
Apart from the above mentioned, there are some other unexpected findings that are worth noting. We observed that females are more willing to exchange contact and initiate chats with the same sex but not the opposite sex. Our results are consistent with that of a study examining same-gender and cross-gender friendship norms, in which an overwhelming majority of respondents reported that men and women can be friends, while a minority of women were cautious in their responses, with women more apt to reply maybe than men. There could be two possible reasons for these observations. First of all, female has higher expectations in friendship than male. It has been revealed that women tend to place high values on affiliation and emotional closeness, so they have high expectations of their friendships. They generally hold their friends to stricter rules than men and are less willing to exchange contacts or start a friendship with complete strangers. The second reason could be that women were more concerned than men with the threats of sexual attraction challenging the platonic nature of such a friendship, according to a cross-gender friendship study.
There are some limitations in our project. First of all, there was an imbalanced distribution of participants' gender. The questionnaires were distributed by snowball sampling. We didn't quite control the number of participants of each gender. Next, our questionnaire lacked some qualitative questions. We only focused on quantitative ones and didn't further ask participants the reason of their rating. Therefore, the rationale and standard of their rating could not be found. Another limitation is that static images may not be able to show real-life situations. Although we try to control the exposure, saturation, and size of the photos in order to make them seem more realistic, the photos shown in the questionnaire may not necessarily reflect the vividness and true form of dynamic facial expressions that occurred in everyday life.
In the future, different types of masks are suggested to include in the study to see whether different materials, colors, and designs of masks affect our perception of beauty. Besides, more research can be done in different settings, like job interviews and even speed dating. It is also suggested to include different age groups, races, and ethnicity to increase the validity and applicability of the research. In conclusion, this study shed light on the relationship between impression formation and marks. It is only experimental analogs of face evaluations. Overall, the current findings are at least encouraging that widespread mask wearing may not pose a significant threat to social perception, though further research is needed. Face masks may complicate social interaction, but we should not forget that humans possess a variety of means to create our self-image. Try changing the way we present ourselves by modifying our body languages and verbal presentations. Together with the effects of masks, you may find a totally different self. That's the end of our presentation, and we thank you for your patience and listening.